All right, we are live. Welcome to the Rabyd Atheist. I am your host, Ed Rabyd, a former pastor turned atheist, now a compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. Um, this is a Friday live reaction stream, so welcome one and all. So here we go. I usually Friday streams are conditional on meeting enough super chat goals during the week, and you can thank Cranky Elder God for this one for getting the 10th one in, and here we are. Kind of so this the reaction tonight will be Matt Powell. I actually saw this first on R and Ra where he reacts to like the first 3 minutes of it. I'm going to do the whole thing. I do warn you all, atheists, to buckle up. Okay, if you've never heard of Matt Powell, you're going to want to buckle up for this one. But before we get into all that, let's see who's here. And we do have Cranky Elder God. He was first. Congratulations to him. And Aso is here. Let's see. Rimmer is here as well. Yep. And then Martin here as well. And then Fred just showed up, and we also have Anne Marie. Chapman is here. So, guys, I'm not so sure this is so much a stupid one as is Matt Powell is kind of known in the atheist community for two things. One, his level of lack of understanding of what science and atheism actually says. He's a very good propagandist in that regard, in that sense. He is a quote miner to death. Um, if quotes were worth money, he would be a millionaire. But he's also kind of known for his smug, arrogant stance on things because he is a very fundamentalist kind of thing. So, yeah. Yeah, this is probably the lying liar who lies. So I'm letting you all know in advance. The reason I want to react to this one is I have never reacted to Matt Powell before. And I don't know if I ever want to do like an official video reaction of Matt Powell. I think I might. This one is kind of my first one go at him. And I just saw this video and it's like he says this is how to win an atheist to Jesus by Matt Powell. If you're going to win your get your gospel notched with that atheist that you converted to Christianity, this is the way to do it. And so, yes, yeah, that's him. This is him, space in the air and space guy. Yes, that's him. Oh, oh, there we go. There we go. But yeah, let's see. Announcements. Not too many announcements this time, other than the goal tonight is like 10 super chats, and I'll do a stream tomorrow if we hit that. I'm not sure what I would do it on, but maybe we'll just do a get together and hang out for a while as kind of a reward for a good week. It's been a good week, so thank you very much. No. My subs are holding steady. I lose people. The problem, Martin, with subs is this. The deconversion hangout, I get a jump in subs, and it's because there's theists who sub and do the 5 minutes that they have to be a subscribe before they can comment. Like a lot of our commenters on Thursday are people who have subbed just so they can comment on that stream, and then after that stream is over, they unsubscribe. So often on Thursdays, I get like either maybe a +1 or a 0. But I lose subs some days because these people, the theists, will subscribe to my channel to follow it. And then once they get to a certain point, they just don't want to follow it anymore. So they move along. So there's that. So, but that's it. So, well, it's my sub count has grown actually this week a little bit, but it's been subscribers usually come when I do videos, not live streams. So I've got a plan to start doing more videos. So thanks for that. Thanks, Fred. Appreciate it. Starting it off, we got one already. So 9 to go. Um, eh, yeah, it's a tradition. I'm going to see if I can get this tradition rolling here for me. There's some traditions that maybe I just don't want to do. So, but this one caught my attention because it's about atheism, and that always catches my attention, and deconversion catches my attention. So there's that. But so let's pull up good old Matt here, and they always start out with the sound on, and I've turned it off so I can get a good start. But this is Matt Powell telling people how to win an atheist to Jesus Christ. Let's see how far we get before we get sick.
The best way to convince an atheist that Christianity is the truth is by sitting down with them and not debating, but simply asking them if you could share what your point of view is about the origin of life and about the afterlife and heaven. And if they say yes, most of the time they'll say no, but if they say yes, you need to carry.
All right. So the opening tactic of this technique to win atheists to Jesus is to sit down and have a conversation with them and ask two questions that are completely unrelated to atheism. um, so like you're going to ask them about an afterlife. If they're an atheist, that answer should be obvious. There isn't an afterlife. But the origin of life one is kind of weird too, because it's like this is kind of like one of those where creationists think they've got a gotcha, um, where they think, you don't have a way of showing how life could arrive from non-life, so therefore must be God. It's a classic God of the gaps tactic at that point. And Matt does that a lot. He does a lot of God of the gaps. Like you can't explain it. So there's that. Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, it's yeah, it's Martin's got the sequence here. Okay, afterlife unproven, which heaven. Okay. And then we go to the cosmological argument, and then we go to incredulity. It couldn't have happened any other way. I think you got the outline here. But Matt is already, it's nice when I hear a theist say, hey, you can't just like preach at atheists. You got to sit down and talk to them. But when we're going to frame the conversation almost immediately to what we want to talk about, that's not honest. Okay. And neither one of the origin of life and the afterlife have nothing to do with belief or non-belief in God. Okay, it's like this is completely off the topic. So we're going to talk about stuff that's off the topic to win it. And I think it yeah, I'm not sure about the nice Christian boy. Matt Powell has recorded a lot of his own preaching in his own church, and some of it is straight up garbage, like human debris garbage. So I wouldn't say that about him being a nice ball. I think this is where we're going to get by the end of the night. He is basically preaching to the choir because he's saying, like a lot of these preachers do to get clicks, they'll say that it's about witnessing to atheists. And then what they're really doing is just rah-rahing the crowd. Okay. They're just trying to get the people that already believe, more, head pats and authentication and all that stuff. So it's more about that. It's more about the believer than the non-believer when they talk about atheism. So, yeah, he is doing a lot of heavy lifting always. Um, yeah, he really doesn't have no grasp of reality. I've watched Matt Powell enough and a lot of reactions to him, but I've never done one. This is my first time reacting to Matt Powell, but I think I may do something more official with one of his videos. So the thing is, he tends to do a lot of creationist stuff, and that's just not my wheelhouse. I used to be a creationist, but I just don't. I don't deal with it anymore because there's other people who have better scientific knowledge than I do. I'm not an astrophysicist. I'm not a biologist. I'm a former preacher who's pretty much worked in retail all of his life and just happens to have a few degrees that matter. So um, it, I don't know. I just don't see the point of reacting to Matt most of the time. So, all right, let's see what else he's going to have to say. So let's see what the punchline is.
And calmly tell them what the facts are and what the truth is. And a lot of times people will not care about how much you know until they know how much you care. Very important. So put a smile on your face. And I would start out by mentioning the fact that atheism is truly based in mysticism.
Okay, well what? I heard that before when I watched this on Arm Raw, and then I watched it again before the show today, and I do not know where the hell he gets this idea that atheism is based on mysticism. Mysticism is a spiritual belief, and I don't know of too many atheists, other than maybe some Buddhists who qualify, who believe in some form of mysticism. I have. um, yeah. Hi, David. By the way, that's why I pulled you up. So say hello. Hey, Ronald. Good to see you. Yeah. What the hell? Yes. I am. I don't get Ronald. You have the same reaction I do, where he gets the idea of mysticism. Okay, because it's like atheism. If there's anything I've known most atheists to be, is non-mystical. There's not a lot of mysticism in their belief system, if any at all. And there are some Buddhists that I think qualify as not believing in a personal God, but they do have a mystical understanding of the universe. But that's the only ones I know of. Yeah, we're just not convinced of any kind of theism. And Matt Powell, it's interesting how many apologists want to make us into a religion like them. Like they're automatically kind of sideways attacking themselves. Yeah, religion is bad. And so we're going to make atheism into a religion. It seems like they wouldn't be doing that. So I don't know. I don't know why Matt goes this direction. It's really one of the most stupid things he does is call atheism mysticism. Um, so there's that. Hey, Alex, good to see you. And by the way, hello, Ronald. Appreciate it. Appreciate you being here. You thought you were in trouble? Okay. I don't know. So there's that. Yes, atheism is a religion. Religion is bad. Christianity is a true religion, and never seeing the problem. Exactly. This is. Uh, I love how apologists like to project on this issue. Like they would turn us into a worldview on religion, and I'm like, I'm not sure. I have never been convinced that atheism can be a worldview because it's only a viewpoint on one part of what could be a worldview, but where you just don't have God in your worldview, and that has some implications. But that's all it does. So there's that. Well, thank you, Jova. I'm doing very well, Jova. I am doing well. Thank you. Thank you. So that's two. But thank you very much. I appreciate the support. I do. Yeah, it's the problem with Powell's arguments is he's so up his own ass, to be blunt, about what he thinks, that his view of reality is very, very distorted by his Bible and by his theological beliefs. And I think he's also kind of a sort of disciple of what's his face in Dinosaur Adventureland. So he's hung out there. So yeah, I have to watch that guy. So there's that. Yeah. This is the problem I had with this video, because he's going to yell at us for believing something came out of nothing. And I'm like, project much. So yeah, they're pretty skeptical of everything until it comes to faith. You are the fourth person I think that's remarked this way. It's like, oh, so yeah, air sickness bags, everybody. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's Kent Hovind. Yeah, that's who it is. My names slip me sometimes, but yes, he and Kent Hovind have actually hung out once upon a time. I think he went to Dino Adventureland and hung out with Kent to learn from him for a while. I don't know if he's still there and still doing that, but that was the last report I got of the two of them. So yeah, we should be tax exempt. Can we create tax exempt searches? I wonder if we can. That'd be interesting. Yeah, magic spells, actual mystery. Yeah, but atheism is mystical. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, let's go. Yeah. I get your point, Cranky Elder God. I get your point. He is the kind of nice, clean cut boy that Kent might like. So there's that. Well, let's see what else Matt has to say. What other direction are we going to go here?
Think about it. If the world created itself, that is by definition a magic act. It is not scientific in any way to assert that matter and energy could create itself, that it could pop into existence on its own. An outside force had to create time, space, and matter. Either one of two things happened. Either God created this world, or everything created itself from magic. Either
Matt is conveniently omitting some very important Bible verses, like God said let there be light, and it was so. So it's like, you're the one that believes that matter and energy came out of nothing there, Matt. You're the guy that believes Genesis 1 is history. So I guess I have to ask the question, how then do you escape this criticism yourself? There's a lot of ex nihilo creation in the creation story. Even if you don't believe initially there was nothing, like the let there be light is definitely ex nihilo. Um, suddenly the earth has seeds that bring forth, the plants. The sun and moon are definitely ex nihilo creations. It's like, I don't get this objection, because there's a hell of a lot of magic in what Christians believe about creation. And I'm not sure. I've read a few astrophysicists, from Krauss to a couple others, but none of them talk about it coming out of nothing. There's a lot of debate whether, if matter and energy cannot be destroyed, created or destroyed, then it's very possible that the universe, we've always had matter and energy. Those two things have always existed, or in some way, shape, form, transfer from one thing to another. So he's completely misunderstanding a whole lot here. So, but I don't believe in any of that. So, hey, good to see you. Gravity. Yes, think about it, Matt. For once, yeah, it's a false dichotomy too. Like, it has to be created by a god or it came out of nothing. There's a lot of other alternative explanations. and he doesn't want to do that. I've noticed apologists tend to be the kings and queens of false dichotomies. They like to put you into these kind of choices where you don't have to, basically think of other possibilities. They want you to put you in a box of two possibilities, and hopefully one of them is right or one of them is wrong. And that's kind of so there's that. It's probably realistic if they only preach the Bible, it would join the ranks of the Pantheon Library where it belongs. Yes, probably. The fact that society takes it so seriously is why it doesn't end up in the mythology section. Yeah, God just kind of pops into existence. So Powell objects to magic. Yes, he does, because he doesn't believe like the elements of his faith are magical. He twists the definition of what magic is in order to make atheism believe in magic, and he doesn't somehow. So, hey, bro. Your mother would have totally believed that Powell was wonderful. Every boy my mother approved. Oh my God. Yeah, moms. That's the problem with like mothers. Sometimes they're poor judges of character too. Hey, Earl. You're fashionably late, my dear. You're fine. So, yes. God called upon the electricians. Let there be light, isn't it? Okay. I can buy that. Oh my goodness. Hot dense singularity, yes. Yes. No, so yeah, probably. It's a phase change from one state of existence to another. Um, it if the universe expands, it could possibly at some point also contract. I mean, the problem with Matt here is he gives you two options, and it's quite possible, in fact, more likely that there's a third one. Okay, but the idea that either God created it or it just pooped into existence out of nothing, that's not the out of nothing argument that atheists believe has been debunked over and over. And Matt knows this. He knows that most atheists don't believe this. That's why I don't think this video is for actually dealing with atheists. It's to rah-rah the crowd. So, so yeah, I would buy that. I would buy that. Yeah, that's kind of the point here with Matt. Matt's problem is that he doesn't seem to get that at all. Yeah, you have to run away from Christ and follow him. To be honest, Alex, this is the kind of thing I like to talk about. Okay, what's the technique here? Because in the end, if you buy what Matt's selling, you have to follow Matt in order to get where he's going. You have to be the way he's talking is basically saying, you got to trust my word about the word. And so he's ending going a very different direction. Yes, his magic is the truth. So I think this is really the attempt, Ronald, of what Matt's trying to do. He's trying to pull atheism into the magic realm where he also dwells, and then says his magic is better than our magic. So it could. I just don't feel like you do that there's any good evidence for it. So it's just being fashionably late. You be comfortable, Earl. I please be comfortable when you watch my streams. Thank you, Martin. Appreciate you. That's 3, 7 to go. We'll have a stream tomorrow if I get 10 tonight. So I have the weekend off. But what I do is all up to you guys. He's a fundamentalist, so yes. The one thing I can tell you about fundamentalist Christian is they are very illiterate about what they talk about. Matt is just a really good example of that. Um, I've heard so many people talk about, like, fundamentalist Christians will talk about evolution and Big Bang and everything all the time. And every time they do, I cringe because they show they don't know the first thing about what they're talking about. Um, Matt always looks nervous. I think it's because the thing about Matt is I think he knows he's lying. He's a disciple of Kent Hovind, so when I look at Kent, I think Kent knows he's lying too. It's a con artist game. So so there's that. So he's done the false dichotomy thing. Let's see where he goes with this.
Time, space, and nature poofed into existence from a mystical act of randomness, or it was designed. Intelligent design is true. And even if we
All right. I want to pause to allow everybody to laugh. At that point, intelligent design is true. I'm going to echo with Arn Ra when he reacted to this video. Intelligent design has actually gone to court and they lost. Okay, for lack of evidence. And so for him to say that, that's absolute shit. Okay. He's sitting there saying it's true, just flat out, and he provides no evidence for that. Something that an atheist would want would be evidence that, um, that intelligent design is true. So you've got to present that evidence. And then you can, at least at that point, get me to the possibility of a God being the intelligent designer, or maybe it was a committee. I'm sorry. I think polytheism makes more sense. Looking at the world as designed by a committee just makes a hell of a lot more sense to me if it was designed, but not by a single entity that's supposed to be all knowing. But yeah, yeah, this is the thing that I would see. This is why I say this is not a genuine conversation that Matt Powell wants to have. He wants to have a conversation with atheists where he controls the conversation. And so these questions you're asking, Ronald, never come up in this video. Who created God? How did God pop into existence? Where did God come from? They always want an exception for God. Like everything has to have a cause until you talk about God. Well, who caused God? Well, no, he's the only thing that doesn't. And it's a complete assertion without any evidence that God has no cause. And they'll sit there and yell about, infinite regress, the universe recreating itself and going back and forth as one of the theories. But then the only way they escape the infinite regress themselves, or who created who, is to say that at some point God is the one thing that isn't created. And you ask good questions. There's I think energy can always exist and matter can always exist. So I haven't done, I think I've done something relating to Trent Horn. I've thought about reacting to him. My problem with Trent is I'm not as knowledgeable about Catholicism as I'd like to be. I'm trying to up my game on that. I was a Protestant minister for 20 years, so I know that game. I did hang out with a local father. We had ministerial meetings, and I enjoyed his company and talking to him because he wasn't like this fundamentalist Catholic himself as a priest. So, which was kind of weird. So there's that. But yeah, Trent Horn and Catholicism seems to be on the rise again, and I think the reason Catholicism is on the rise is it provides a very large whole system of belief, and is an old and very powerful tradition because of it. So there's that. Yes, this is the question. Designed by God who apparently poofed into existence by magic. Where's the difference, Matt? I agree that such evidence would be observable, but I don't think anybody's ever observed it. So He's intelligent. Certain values of intelligent. Yeah. Yes, it lost in court. They were hinging their argument on irreducible complexity, and that's the story where the lawyers against intelligent design took some of the parts off a mousetrap and used them as tie clips for the court case, and use that as an illustration of how just because you get rid of one component on a biological being doesn't mean it can't have a completely different purpose and do something else. So it's the problem that the thing is, the judge was a Christian, and I think he made the remark that intelligent design people were such liars during the case. Like, what they said was so demonstrably false, and they had to be like deliberately trying to deceive people in his estimation. So it's a fact. I'm sure there's a video on YouTube somewhere about that case, where they have interviews with the judge afterwards, and he was not impressed by the intelligent design people, and he was a Christian. So I'm waiting for that too. It's only a natural connection. When they can't get rid of the Big Bang and the hot dense singularity, they'll try to incorporate it into their theology. It's what Christian theology and most theology has done for years. They're full of shit. Yeah, I get that. I just want to know specifically how they're full of shit. So there's yes, that's it. Yeah, 2005 Kilburn versus Dover. It's not it was proven that it's intelligent design is not science. Okay, it's definitely a faith thing. It was a cheap attempt to try to get faith-based education into a public school system, and it failed. So yeah, I think he's a scammer too. He's not very. Let's see, somewhere the odds are stacked against science just to make it sting more for the ID people, like South Carolina or Texas. Yeah. The problem is now, based on who's in charge, they're probably going to get stuff in. I mean, there's already a proposal on the Texas floor. I don't know if I think they finally passed it to add a Bible class. Just the Bible, not Quran, not the Bhagavad Gita or all the other stuff from Hindu religion. None of that, just the Bible. But somehow we're not promoting biblical Christianity. So, but yeah, somehow that's not happened. So, so here we go. ID is true. All right, let's see where you go, Matt.
Granted that the Big Bang happened, it would still require supernatural power to be able to convert nothing into something. So
but nobody theorizes that nothing became something.
Even if the Big Bang is true, atheism is still false. And the reason we know the Big Bang could not have taken place is because you cannot convert dust to water. Think about it.
Okay, is anybody at that point having a what the fuck moment? What in the hell are you talking about? Okay. When I first heard this, I'm like, what are you talking about? And the thing is, what Matt doesn't seem to know is most rocks, sand, all that stuff has H2O into it, or has part oxygen and hydrogen as part of the equation of their composition. So yes, you could get water out of dust if you knew how to do the processes, or the processes naturally existed. Happens all the time. It was just like, dude, do you even know anything at this point? This is him counting on his audience being completely ignorant of basic science at this point. And even I'm not a scientist, but even I know that that's bullshit. Okay. So, yeah, he kind of David brings Aaron kind of really smashed that one pretty hard, where he pointed out, yeah, you can actually get water out of rock. So, it's like, as a dental hygienist, you object. Okay, so there you go. That's an objection I wouldn't have counted on, but okay, I'll take it. Yes, cosmology is working on it. We don't know where it came from. Yeah, I think this is he he definitely I don't know, he the whole nothing thing still bothers me. I don't know how many times, Katie, that I've said I don't believe the universe came from nothing, and I don't know too many atheists that do. There might be one or two, but I just don't buy that at all anymore. So yeah, he broke it down. Well, if they all get that from Krauss's book, but if you actually read Krauss, and I did, Krauss says that nothing really isn't nothing. Okay, so when he says a universe from nothing, he says that it's a nonsensical concept in physics because there's always something. Okay, so nothing really isn't nothing, and so but they take the title of that book and run and never bother to read it. And that's when you read it, and I read it when I was still in the ministry, by the way, and I'm like, okay, all these apologists are full of shit when they say people believe that something came from nothing. That's not what he was saying at all. It was a nice title to get people to buy the book, though. I'll give him that. So only pull baby teeth. Okay, there we go. Oh man. Yeah, there is no such thing as nothing. Okay, and that's where theists get this so wrong. Yeah, it was pretty clickbait, and it worked. I mean, he became a new. I think he was a bestseller for a couple of weeks because of the title. Um, but when you read the book, that's not his conclusion. Okay, it's not a conclusion. All right, Matt. Let's keep going. We need to get through Matt
You
here.
would have had H2O convert from dust particles. It doesn't make any sense. 326 million trillion gallons of water exist on Earth alone, and to say that all of that was condensed as energy, they claim, in an infinitely dense hot point, is ludicrous and absurd, and it is demonstratively false.
If it was demonstrably false, the Big Bang people would have fallen apart a long time ago, and it would have been dismissed as false by science itself. I don't, he's, the thing is, nobody really knows how big the singularity was, if even that concept even makes sense at that point. I mean, physics kind of breaks down the closer you get to the origin point. It's like our understanding of how physics works kind of goes poofy a little bit, and that's because of the nature of reality back then just doesn't make a lot of sense to us. So I don't know. It's strange that he says this kind of shit because he's clearly demonstrating he doesn't know. It's sad to me because you can literally Google, cosmic inflation theory and get all kinds of articles that actually explain what it says, but he never does that. Okay, you can tell. Uh, I don't know. Some other being is going to have to come and tell us what the hell is going on with us. We ain't ever going to figure that out. Yeah, I don't get that either. Yeah, there's really it. The Lord of the Rings is Sauron, and he's hardly in the story. You're right about that. It's kind of clickbaity too. Clickbait's been around forever before clicks were even possible. So some of the titles of books, they're all designed to get your attention and get you to buy the book. I honestly think Matt is like a lot of preachers I knew that got into the ministry because it was easy work. Um, there are two types of pastors. There's the pastors that bust their butt, and there's the pastors that kind of slide through because they think it's an easy job. Matt in his church probably hasn't swung a hammer because he'll get his constituents to do that. Okay. I'll talk about the minister, Matt Powell, but you're right. He does not look like he has an aversion to hard labor. And so he does the religious shrill thing to get money and to get stuff. He is the epitome of what I would call a con artist preacher. And that was evident almost from his first videos on his channel. Like, Matt Powell's been around in this sphere for quite a while. And almost immediately, I felt like he was a con artist type minister. Like, he knows it's a con and he says these outrageous things to get attention, and it works. And that's kind of the way he does it. And there's that type of minister and every other type. That there's a lot of hardworking minister who sincerely believe this stuff and really try to do good for their community. But for every one of those, there's like two Matt Powells, I think. So yes, it's a good Christopher Hitchens subtitle. He openly admits that but to him, it wasn't just a nice subtitle to get attention. It was true. So, hey, deviant. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I do apologize for those of you with weak stomachs that we have to deal with Matt Powell, but I'm sorry about that. But yeah. 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 Yeah, he's aged fast. He has. Soft hands you got there. Yeah, he's kind of punchable. I've said that. Elizabeth, my sentiments exactly. When I saw the title, I'm like, okay, I've been there, no thank you. So, but yeah, well, the unfortunate thing, Martin, is he doesn't mention bananas in this video. At least I don't think he does. And that's too bad. It would have been a great comic moment. So, all right, Matt, I'll let you talk some more.
And once an atheist begins to understand that God is their creator, that God made them, and that God loves them because he gave them the gift of life, the gift of human existence, it's very important to explain then that Jesus is the truth and that he has shown himself to be authentic. If somebody could die.
All right, I got to stop there. If an atheist suddenly realized that God cares about them, they're not an atheist anymore. Okay, atheism is all about the non-belief in God. So and Matt knows this. He's been told this before, and so he's once again misrepresenting atheism on purpose. He's looking at it from his point of view, his standpoint, and he's not even bothering to have good interaction with the atheist. He's just not doing that. This whole spiel of his is designed to help his followers minister to atheists, quote unquote. But at this point, none of what he says would have actually worked. It certainly wouldn't work for me. And that's kind of the problem I've always had with Matt is he just, he knows that he's been told about this stuff before. Aaron Rog kind of nailed him on that. He says, I told you about this before and you still say it and it's still wrong. So, oh, hey, Iron, good to see you. I think his level of apologetics is childlike. He's the kind of, if I was still in the faith and still trying to make apologetics work, I would reject Matt Powell pretty quickly because his reasoning is such low level. It's like if you know anything about Big Bang cosmology and evolution, most of his creationist videos just fail instantly. Okay, as he doesn't know what he's talking about instantly. And so I would have said, this is a poor apologist for our faith and moved on. I wish he didn't exist, actually, if I was still a theist, but because he's kind of an embarrassment. but he's also the guy that stuck out to me as a con artist type preacher anyway. So, I can't put my finger on that and say he's a con artist. He might sincerely believe, but he's definitely using the religious shill to get money. And so there's that. It's only a stupid liar when his mitts move. Yeah. Oh God, probably a bad preacher. See, with a comedian, you automatically have hecklers. With preachers, everybody usually already believes, so it's easier to be a bad comedian. Well, it's probably easier to be a bad preacher because comedians often take heat. Yeah. Once an atheist. I didn't believe that point too, because once an atheist starts believing in God, he's no longer an atheist, right? I mean, it's like he didn't even make that point. So, hey, Kristen, we're only about a third away into this video, so you're good. It's hard because every time Matt opens up his mouth, he says something either A, stupid, or B, incorrect, or C, both. So, so, eh. Always me when atheists try to pretend that any person that went through public school system doesn't already know the entire evolutionary theory. Is they're out to avoid truth. Well, when you misrepresent evolutionary theory, it tells me that you didn't really learn it all that well. So there's that. But Matt Powell, if he does know evolution, he's misrepresenting it. So you either have Matt Powell as ignorant, incompetent, or deliberately devious. Okay. Um, I'm sorry, based on what he says, that's kind of where he goes because he definitely misrepresents stuff. But if you are poorly understanding somebody, it's not an out to say that you're poorly understanding it. So, mm, oh, I don't know. I think the problem I have with inspiring philosophy is the guy actually does have a degree in philosophy, but he avoids some of the implications of some of the things. Like his epistemology is still pretty poor, despite the fact that he knows what epistemology is supposed to be. And his standard for evidence and believing in something is pretty low. So that's probably my annoyance with inspiring philosophy. Yeah, from Uncle Kent. Oh, it's hard as hell. Open mic. Okay, there you go. Uh, um, yeah, you can always use markers to tell where you are distant from something. Using the stars doesn't mean that they were there by design. Navigation simply requires a point of origin to navigate from. And you can do that with anything. I mean, sorry, that doesn't prove your point that it's designed, dude. Yeah, it just doesn't. Because it can be a star that's just there, and all you have to do is figure out how to navigate based on that star. It doesn't have to. You still, that's million miles away from God put it there. So, yeah. It's an expansion, also not an explosion, as Martin points out. That's when people keep saying that word explosion, it kind of tells me that you're using the propagandized form of Big Bang and not the actual theory, which Matt does a lot too. Yeah, there's several people that have gone through American public high school that have never been taught evolution at all. So that's actually quite a possibility. It's something I would note as a former school board member. that sometimes the curriculum doesn't require you to learn evolution. So there's that. All right, come on,
and then
man.
come back from the dead, that means that that individual has power, authority, and credibility.
Okay, so if that's the case, the entire zombie horde that came up from things also has power and authority and can speak to the reality of the universe. What about the widow's son at Nain? How about Jairus's daughter? How about Lazarus? They were all resurrected too. Does that mean that they have authority and power, that they came back from the dead? I'm sorry. It doesn't seem, resurrection doesn't make you all that, dude. It never has, never will. So there's that aspect of it that I have to point out. There's that. Oh, even if Yahweh is all that in a bag of chips, he's a lesser among many. The rest gave up ant farms long ago. From you, cranky elder God, I'll take that, as well as the 666. Thank you, sir. Oh man, the elder God stuff I love. I don't know. Cthulhu is a much more likely God than Yahweh, so at least makes more sense. I know you guys were chomping at the bit. I could see it. I could see it. Oh my gosh. Oh man. Oh my goodness. But yeah, uh it's not an out to point out that people don't understand something correctly. That's the thing that bothered me about that guy. Like that's it's that bad to me when people. I'm not using it as an out. I'm saying what you just said shows you don't understand it. So, well, thank you, Martin. Outstanding. We're halfway there to having a stream for tomorrow. Halfway there. So thank you, everybody. Yeah, this is the point that I try to make to theists now whenever they bring up that point. If somebody comes back from the dead, it just means that they can come back from the dead. It doesn't suddenly make them infallible about what they say or believe. It just means they came back from the dead. I mean, Lazarus is a flawed human being, not the son of God to all these people. He comes back from the dead. You know, all the people I mentioned that the New Testament says come back from the dead. Does that suddenly make them authoritative and powerful? No, the logic doesn't follow. And so Matt's doing typically what a lot of people do here which with the resurrection proves everything else about Jesus is like, no, it doesn't. So there's that. I just don't think that that's, I don't know. Yeah, it's the mechanism that's missing. It's the mechanism that's really missing here. Chapman pulls us out. You got to show the mechanism of how resurrection leads to authority, power, and all the rest of it. So you have to do that, and you haven't done that, Matt. You've just kind of asserted it without any evidence. And you know, Matt's notorious for this, that he just says stuff and doesn't prove it. He doesn't seem to know what good evidence is. So thank you, Earl. Yeah, Martin, dude, I love you. I really do. I love you. I think sometimes I'm too nice to theists. I'm too nice of a guy to theists because I used to be one, and so I kind of see things from their side of view. If you buy all the bullshit, you understand the mentality, I guess. But once you get out of it, it's like I just don't have the patience for somebody that comes in and just, you know, I've had that 3 times this week where the opening line of the comment is an insult. Like, you people have no, it's like theists have no understanding of how to win friends and influence people anymore. They come in rude, they come in hot and heavy. It's like they accuse you of something, and it's like you're not even discussing belief in God or not at that point. You're just being insulting. So, so it's it. Oh, God's mech is missing because it's. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think Deviant, you're right. Up till now, I haven't heard anything that would be talking to me as an atheist. He's definitely talking to his crowd, and he's giving them really horrible advice on how to reach atheists as well, because he's just not, this is not going to work. Okay. And I think he knows it doesn't work. But he's just, you just got to wait until the atheist accepts that God exists. Well, if you do that, you might be there for a long time. And for me, coming back to Christianity is impossible. I've seen behind the curtain. I can't go back. And so that's just not going to happen. Yeah. And that's the other thing about it is like Jesus obviously didn't heal everybody according to the story either, because who would Peter and John have healed at the gate beautiful if he had? I mean, Jesus must have walked by that gate 100 times if the story is true and never healed that dude. So, it's like, it seems kind of selective, but anyway. Oh, all right. Come on, Matt. Let's see if you can do better.
Jesus did raise from the dead, and many historians will even admit that. And what that tells us is that the New Testament is authentic. Think about it. The New Testament is 27 different books that are all compiled together in one book. And the Gospels contain eyewitness accounts of Jesus's life, death, and resurrection.
Okay. I really wish I had the clip right now of everything that guy just said is bullshit, because that's everything he just said. It's bullshit. They're not eyewitness accounts. Even by their own admission, they're not eyewitness accounts. Okay. Luke, certainly the writer of Luke, says that he's investigated everything, but he never claims to be an eyewitness. None of the writers of the Gospels claim to be eyewitnesses. In fact, they don't even flip and name themselves. Okay. They don't name their sources. The New Testament is a collection of early Christian literature, but the writings of Paul, half of them we can authenticate, and the other half are obvious forgeries. So using his name, the writings of Peter, forgeries. Revelation is a cosmic LSD mind fuck, if you ask me. Now I'm so glad I don't have to justify it anymore. But if I looked at all the New Testament writings, there's just a lot of garbage there by Paul, the Christian mystic, who never actually met Jesus based on his own testimony, who never actually saw Jesus, to listen to everything he has to say. And it's like, okay, if you never actually saw this guy, then how would you know what he looked like, kind of thing. So I don't know. Everything he just said for the last, I don't know, 30 seconds is just straight up bullshit. The New Testament is not authenticated history. I don't know of too many historians outside the ones that have to sign statements of faith that would say what he says, that the New Testament is historically authentic. That's just not there. So I don't know. I'm flabbergasted that he would even say stuff like that, because only Christians believe that stuff. And that's the problem. Yes, he lies very easily. He's very practiced at it, or he very sincerely believes it. And there's this weird kind of con artist that sincerely believes they're bullshit and still knows it's bullshit. So that is a mental state that people have observed. So that people know. Your BS alarm is blasting. Yes, mine too. Yes, it's for the Bible tells me so. This is really horrible advice to witness to atheists, because I reject the Bible, and most atheists do. We reject the idea of sin. We reject the idea of a God. And you're not even going to start at square one. You're just going to say the Bible, tells me so. And you have to add in the part, Martin, about from a backwater area of the world that wasn't very literate. So yeah, he claims it, but none of them come forward. He never names names. It's very convenient that he never names names. Yeah, indoctrination is a tough thing, Chapman. It's hard to get out of when you've been thoroughly indoctrinated. So it all comes down to emotional connection. If you have a very emotional connection to your religion, you'll justify anything. So, so there's that. Honestly, if they want to follow this tactic, Chapman, I would be for it because you're going to create more atheists. You're right. So, but let's see if he says anything worthwhile. So far, it's been zero.
And when Jesus died and resurrected from the dead, it shook up all of history so much. Scholars in the first century, like Josephus, Tacitus, Pliny the Younger, and so on and so forth, were writing about Jesus of Nazareth. And
No, they weren't. Mostly, they wrote about his followers. They never really. There's no historical writer that writes what is said in the Gospels about Jesus' death and resurrection. That's complete bullshit. Um, Gamaliel and all those guys, Josephus, some of the rest of them, these historians mention Jesus's followers in passing, and this is a clear embellishment of what they actually say. And Josephus is hard because we can tell that stuff has been added into the text. And so you can't tell where Josephus actually is and where the person who edited the text is. So yeah, that's probably not a good one. Um, could he at least pronounce? I butcher them too. I don't really get into all whether they say the names correctly. And to be honest, sometimes pronunciation is we're going to shrug our shoulders. But yeah, I unfortunately I know too much. I studied all these guys, and I never found any of these ancient historians. And we have to also note that many of them write decades after the fact as well. So a lot of times they're just talking about what Christians say. They're not talking about something they actually researched or studied or whatever. They acknowledge the existence of Christianity and Christian churches and what Christians say about themselves, but they don't necessarily go back and try to authenticate those stories. So it's not really good historical stuff. Stuff. So I know it was bad, but yeah, I'm sorry about that. But it's just like I'll let him. I'll let that part go. It's already bullshit. So
about how he had done many miracles and how he had risen from the dead. And
um, no historian that I know of really talks about the resurrection as a real event from the ancient antiquity. I don't know where he's getting that from. So maybe somebody can enlighten me of what people think, but I don't. He's making stuff up at this point.
how people were giving their lives for their belief in the resurrection. People were actually seeing Christ risen from the dead, and it was
The only group of people that say that are people who believe the Gospels. Okay. The Gospels claim that people saw Jesus risen from the dead. They never bother really to prove it by what would be considered good evidence. And Rimmer points out ancient historians had a habit of weaving the fiction with the real stuff. Like if you read some of the biographies of Alexander the Great, it's got all kinds of mythological elements into it because these people believed in those mythological elements. So I'm sure Matt wouldn't believe a historical account of Alexander the Great that also said that he was the son of Apollo. It's like he would reject that part of it, but that doesn't mean we can't sift some of the other historical stuff like his battles and who he defeated and that he did exist from all of that. because we can connect it to other things. But the idea that all these people wrote about people seeing Jesus after he was dead, you don't really get that till second, third century. So there's that. Let's see. But yeah, there's definitely ancient historians that talk about stuff that we now reject. Cranky Elder God mentions that Caesar was elevated into heaven, according to some histories. We don't buy that either. There's a lot of, it's funny how the mythology of the time seems to have similar elements, like being ascended into heaven and being blessed by the gods, being a son or daughter of God, is fairly common. Jesus is no exception to that commonality. So, yeah, there's also patronage that was a problem because you wanted to please the patron. So, to quote ancient historians is kind of always questionable ground. You kind of have to justify why you're doing so, and Matt's not going to do any of that, of course. So, all right, here we go. We'll never get through this video if I don't keep going.
Shocking people. Hundreds of people at a time were often seeing Jesus, and they were absolutely blown away. And they went around Rome and Italy and told people, we've seen someone who died and came back from the dead, and we are placing our faith and trust in him.
And at that point, I say, cool story, bro. Do you have any evidence that he actually rose from? Where is he? See, the thing that would have really helped Christianity if Jesus had stuck around, like if he had walked around and talked about things, but conveniently he disappears and only his followers are left. That's very, very convenient. I mean, this isn't really good proof, Matt. Just because somebody tells a story, I'm sure there were people on the streets of Rome telling the story of Alexander the Great or Caesar and how they were miraculously powered too. So the fact that there were a lot of frauds out there saying shit doesn't prove anything. So yeah, he does. He's kind of interesting sometimes, Mr. Powell. I try not to get into all that. I try to stick with what he says. His body got stolen, honest. Pool seed. I'm sorry, Elder God. I'm sorry, Craigie. I did warn everybody. Make sure you have your nausea bags handy. Make sure you have your drugs, so just, make sure you got your stuff. Okay. In case you start to feel sick. Yeah, they didn't accept the divinity of the emperor. That was the main issue. The empire was actually very accepting of local religions. They didn't get into that discussion. A probably wise move on their part. I note that most empires that last a long time seem to put the religious questions aside, like they don't want to deal with it. So they let everybody have their local deities, and then, as long as you acknowledge the central one, it's okay. So yeah, no evidence, one claim. Yeah, broad strokes, definitely. Yeah, every empire wants you to pay their damn taxes. So gonna have to disinfect your phone. Hey, Coyote. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm bringing it up again. Iron Raw did a reaction to part of it. I'm doing the whole thing, and I'm not going to get to the end of it if I don't keep going. But he says so much bullshit that you have to kind of comment on it every 10 seconds. So
think about it. If somebody could die and come back from the dead, don't you think it would be a good idea to consider what he or she has to say? All of the other messiahs of the false religions of this world, as far as I know, are still in the grave. None of them actually rose again. The New Testament has authority. And it's important to explain that to people who are skeptics of the Word of God. We have more evidence.
Most people who are skeptics, Matt, are not going to accept something simply because you say it's an authority. And arguments from authority are fallacious. So you've got to prove that you have the right to speak on something and not just. I have this problem sometimes when people say, well, Dr. So and so says so. Well, yeah, he's a well studied person in that field. That doesn't mean he's right. Okay. In fact, science welcomes that kind of skepticism against authority. So I don't get this part with Matt. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't just accept the authority of the Bible. It kind of has to prove that it has the right to be that authority. And apologists never do that. I've never, it's just kind of silly to me to really think about it, that you're just basically saying that this book has authority and I have to follow it. And once people understand that somehow that'll convince an atheist. That might convince somebody who already believes in the authority of Scripture, but it sure as hell not going to do anything to me. So your advice is horrible here at this point. Yeah, I think that's where I first ran into Matt, was with Weist. I don't know. I like Weist. I don't have the same kind of love for him I had when he was more anonymous and just the rhino. But I'm already sick. So I it's that way. And you don't want to shovel it. Okay. Yeah, I get it. It's your horses. Please shovel your own shit. Yes, thanks. It doesn't matter if he's resurrected either, Chapman. You're right. Just because somebody rose from the dead doesn't mean they're suddenly less fallible. I still want them to connect the dots on that one, the causal relationship. Respect my authority. Yes. Yeah, I think that's kind of the point. Polytheistic. See, I have a less trouble accepting polytheism than I do mono, because I can absolutely believe that this world was designed by a committee. If it was designed, committees are not the devil. They're not of the devil. They are the devil. So I could see that, and it would be the greatest proof that the devil designed the place. So I wonder about that too, Anne Marie. The problem I've always had with church and theism, and as somebody who was a Christian education pastor at one point and a pastor later, is how much of the Bible is edited out of people's minds. And they're keep instructing them to read the passages that reinforce belief, but not stuff that would question that belief. I read the Bible cover to cover many times, and that's what made it so difficult to believe. Okay. When you stick to stuff to him for emotional reasons, but I wonder about Matt. If he has read the Bible cover to cover, you need to also understand that indoctrination involves how to look past problematic passages and they don't register in your brain. You read them and you're like, oh, okay. And then you just move on. I don't really believe that about God, but I'll deal with this later. So it's like there's an element of indoctrination that teaches people how to read the Bible without actually digesting it. And I think the real problem, I don't know, the real problem is that people can read the Bible cover to cover and still miss it. And it's because of the previous indoctrination. And I think Matt Powell may be both a perpetrator and a victim of that. So that's part of owning them. Yeah. Consensus red flag for Jesus. I don't know. I think it's his dad. We've had that discussion before. The biggest red flag is his family. I don't know how you can not be damaged if you have a father like that, kind of thing. It's the cherry picking, but it's also like I've literally handed a problematic passage to a theist and showed him in the Bible they'll read it and it doesn't register how it's a problem because they automatically try to see the good in God or whatever. Like you literally can show them where God basically kills babies and they will still say, well, God is good all the time. All the time, God is good. It's like there's this element to indoctrination where you can teach people to be indoctrinated to the point they can read the whole Bible and they'll just, in their brain, they'll edit out the bad parts and they just won't deal with them. So, yeah, he's right. I think it was all polytheistic originally, and we definitely know that like Astera was his original consort goddess, so that he was married and did all the things that ancient gods do, just like humans. All right.
For the existence of Jesus than we do for George Washington, or Abraham Lincoln, or John Adams, or any of the presidents of the past.
All right, I want to stop there. That is absolute bullshit. We have far more evidence for the existence of every president than we do have for Jesus. That is straight up grade A horse shit. I mean, if you want to talk about shoveling shit, that's shoveling shit. It's like we have, all kinds of testimonial evidence for these people that's corroborated by people of the time that these people existed. George Washington, every president has their contemporary historians that lived with them, existed beside them, and wrote about them. Matt made the point earlier that this pivotal event of Jesus dying on the cross and being resurrection just changed all of history, and nobody of his time noticed it. Okay. They didn't write about him, any of that stuff. I don't know where Matt gets this because no, that is absolutely not true. Uh, so yeah, and they were deists, but that's not the point. He's saying that Jesus has more historical evidence than they do. And it's like, no, like when Abraham Lincoln was alive, there were people writing about his life as it happened. He was in the newspapers. He was, there's a whole bunch of things that go around that. There's all kinds of stuff that testifies to his existence. You don't even have a tenth of that with Jesus, if at all. In fact, there's a reason why Jesus as a historical person is debated, because the evidence for him is not only scanty, it's bad. And so, yeah, I would say it's polytheistic too, but I would say the Trinity is what makes it that way. That's polytheism trying to be monotheism. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of the way it is. Yeah, yeah. Other religions will do that. As you study other religions and their questions about your religion, their skepticism about your religion might lead you to dump the whole thing. Yeah, I think so. The sola scriptura thing definitely has led to more atheism. It's definitely the case because then people started reading their Bibles and went, "Oh, this is horse shit." So, so all right, Matt, keep going.
We have so much evidence that has been compiled together for the life, the death, the burial, and the resurrection of Jesus. It's what shows
That's everything that guy just said is bullshit. I just want to say that again.
that all of the past prophets were correct when they prophesied about a coming Messiah. And it also shows us that whatever has been prophesied about the future is also going to come to pass.
All prophecy is interpreted post hoc, so you can make it mean anything. Prophecy is not a good argument. I know people think it is, but it's not. It just isn't. So it's like, damn it, dude. uh, ugh.
And so we can put our faith in Jesus. We can put our faith in the fact that he died, was buried, and rose again the third day. We can place our trust and our hope in him. And once people realize that Jesus really existed and that he did die for our sins, we need to encourage them to put their faith in Jesus alone to get them to heaven.
I agree with you. When you read the prophets, it's more like they're preaching to the people of their time and trying to get them to repent. And so it's not really prophecy. They're not like predicting the future, really. Um, I don't know. Everything he's saying here is gospel spiel. It's the sales tip pitch at this point. Um, but atheists are never going to understand that because Matt hasn't even dealt with the basic question of atheism, which is the belief in God in the first place. He's tried to show, he's doing what a lot of people try to do with apologetics today. They try to prove atheism is false. And even if they were successful, it still doesn't prove that their faith is true. And they fail to understand that the burden of proof then still exists. Okay, let's say you prove there is a God of some sort. You still have the burden of proving that yours is the one that is the God that exists. Okay, and they still don't seem to get that. They still seem to just no, I don't want to deal with that. So if you prove me wrong as an atheist, it doesn't prove you right. Okay, and I think that's a point that a lot of them miss because they think if they eliminate the opposition, then they must automatically by default win. And it's poor reasoning. It's always been that. So, oh yes, I remember seeing the video about that. Eat a banana. So yeah. So hey, BS though. Good to see you. Yeah, this has been a fun one. Matt Powell is kind of like, God damn it. I just I've never done like an official reaction to him. This is the first time I've really live reacted to him, and it's just my problem with him has always been he's kind of an insufferable, arrogant ass, but also that he relies on his incredulity a lot, and I don't know. There's just I really feel like he's actually a con artist. Like he doesn't really believe this shit, but he puts on a good act of doing it. If he does really believe it, then oh my god. Yeah, sin is a dumb concept. It's what led to my deconversion ultimately. Uh, yes, two sets that are the same, aren't the same. Yeah, the Ten Commandment discussion, I absolutely understand because I have people that also believe that it was written by the finger of God too, and it just drives me nuts. All right, Matt, let's see what else you have. So far, this has just been a gospel spiel, and I'm beginning to understand why other
The
people
beauty
skipped
of
it.
Christianity is that God himself came down to this earth. He gave up heaven's glory to come to you and I and save us. Every other religion tells us that we have to work up to heaven, that we have to be good enough and just hope and pray that we can make it. Let me tell you, you don't have to hope and pray you can make it. You can know that you have eternal life according to the Bible.
Okay, so God sacrificing himself to save us from what he would do to us because we messed up, but we couldn't avoid messing up because we're sinners by nature makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I don't understand the reasoning here that you can know that you're saved. It seems like it's kind of an ego trip by a lot of Christians because it's like I know God, I know his word, and I know that I'm going to heaven. Is like how do you know that? What? I mean, there's a whole bunch of questions here, Matt, and you're not answering them. So I'm not really sure uh, what's going on here. So he's uh the gospel message just doesn't make any sense to me anymore. So it's just really bad. Yes. All the questions that we would ask. Yeah, would you really send you to heaven? I don't know if he understands that wearing two different fabrics is a sin. I there's a lot of things in the Bible that are sins. that I would not accept as sins anymore. But you have the get out of jail free card with Christianity. Well, that's the Old Testament. But then you run to that same Old Testament when you want to make some other point. It's interesting how the Word of God is only the Word of God when I want it to be. So, yes, which is denomination is the only true one, which is the true faith. Yeah, I think that's the problem. He's really looking down at the atheist and thinking that they're stupid, and that colors his advice to his fellow believers on how to deal with them. He thinks that it's easy to convince somebody to leave their atheism, and he's trying to convince his audience of the same. And it doesn't really matter really to Matt. As long as Matt has his following, people watch his videos and he makes money off his YouTube channel and he makes money in his church, he doesn't have a whole heck of a lot to worry about. He can just do what he wants all day and do nonsense and make money. And so I don't think this was never a genuine video based on what I've seen so far in teaching somebody how to reach an atheist. It's more of a let's rile the crowd, let's make things work that way. And so I don't know. It just reconfirms my suspicion that he's a snake oil salesman preacher. He's got his shtick, and so that kind of puts him in that vein of I don't know. I just always get this oily feeling from Matt every time I listen to him. And that's just a feeling, and I get that, but he has all the signs of a guy who can get a large following. He's got good charisma, and he goes that route. And so he uses that to fool people and go forward with it. So it's definitely something like that. Thank you, Agora. I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely Hovind tier basically in every way. Yeah, because I think he and Hovind hang out together. And I think what's going to happen in the future, folks, is someday Kent Hovind is going to either not be able to do his ministry anymore, or he's going to pass away. And the rest of you who are younger are going to have to deal with good old Matt Powell in the future. Because Kent Hovind and his son have had this falling out because of the ministry. So it seems like Kent Hovind has found his surrogate child in Matt Powell. And I think that's what you guys are going to be dealing with in the future. Now, for me, I think the United States, when it comes to religion, is kind of hanging in the balance right now. So we'll see what happens. I'm very curious as to what the next religious poll says and what goes on with that. So, but I do think Hovind has found his heir apparent. So, somewhat, yeah. But he gets a following. People listen to him. Maybe he doesn't have charisma, but he has an X factor that Christians are drawn to. So, that's possible. He does have that feeling too. What you wearing, man? Okay. Your Father who art non-existent, hallowed be thy debunks, like all saved. Yes, you did. And forgive us. Oh, Earl, you're in rare form tonight. Rare form. Yes, I think that might be a draw, is that he is sexually unthreatening. Yeah, maybe you're right. I think it's just self-right. What was it? Rationality Rules did a thing about apologists, how there's two factors to them, like the manufactured authority and then always speak with confidence. And I have to admit, Matt Powell has both of those. He has this manufactured authority that every reverend preacher has. He uses the manufactured authority of the church and the Bible, okay, and the gospel and his version of Jesus. So he has the manufactured authority side, and he absolutely speaks with confidence. Like there's no doubts when he says something. He speaks it as if it is true. And so he's very good at the shtick. Maybe that's the best way I can say it, why he has a following. But he and Kent Hovind have that kind of thing, where they have that absolute arrogant confidence in what they're saying, and that's what draws people to them. I want a preacher that's confident in what they say. And it's like, never mind that confidence doesn't prove you're right. So yeah, curtsy. Very well. Well done. White boy prestige. Yeah. He might. The problem I have with Kent Hovind and with Matt Powell, the fact that Matt Powell is drawn to Kent Hovind kind of bothers the shit out of me on a very real level, based on what I know what Kent Hovind's been doing at Dino Adventureland. I'm fairly certain what's going on there. So there's this outward persona of righteousness and being Christian, but what's going on behind closed doors might be perverted as hell. So we'll see. But so I don't know if I'm going to go much farther with this guy. I'm beginning to understand Aaron Ra's wisdom of not doing the rest of it.
You can know beyond any shadow of doubt that your soul is saved. The Bible tells us, "These things have I written unto you that believe on the name of the Son of God, that ye may know that you have eternal life, and that you may believe on the name of the Son of God." Folks, God really did create this world. We aren't an accident. We're not a cosmic burp of non-existent material that just poofed everything into existence. And Jesus really did exist. He was a real character of the past that shook up the entire world so much that the Roman Empire reset the calendars, because it completely shocked the world.
It so shocked them that they didn't write about it when it happened. But yeah, okay. I don't know. He's going into a spiel here about how Christianity is needed. Yeah. I'm with you, Fred. Citation, please. Citation, please. Yeah, we're running.
People had seen him risen again.
We're running out of time. We got like 4 minutes left on my goal, so need 3 more. Otherwise, I'm taking tomorrow off. I'm gonna work on something else. So, all right. But thank you for everybody who's contributed. But yeah, Saturdays are hard to achieve. I'm just going to make it plain there. Saturday streams are hard to achieve. So, I would agree with both of you that this is very much an underling of the church vibe. He's definitely doing his controlling thing here too, where he's trying to keep people in line. There's that aspect of it too. Yeah, skeptically. It's been going off this entire video. It really has. All right, let's finish out Matt. Let's hear what he has to say. All right. Well, thank you, Kristen. So now we're 2 away. 2.5 minutes. I'm not going to get a day off if you guys keep donating. 1 left. So, but thanks for the 666. It's my favorite donation, by the way. It's always my favorite donation, and I don't know if I'm going to have a great day off. We'll see. Oh, but yeah, definitely bullshit detector high on this one. I don't know how much longer I'm going to go with this guy. He's starting to give me creepy vibes too, because every time I hear the gospel message, I see the salesman aspect of it. So there's that
and after
aspect.
having been crucified on an old rugged cross. The beauty of Christianity is that God gives us a choice to accept Him or reject Him. He doesn't force Himself upon us. He doesn't force us into His presence in heaven against our will. He gives us the opportunity to accept or neglect salvation. He gives us choices in life. And that's another reason why we know that God exists. Because if Darwinism is true, we are nothing but biological machines that are coated with material that does not give us the ability.
Okay. Looks like I don't have the night off tomorrow. Thank you, Deviant. I appreciate the donations, though. It makes the streaming stuff worthwhile for me in more ways than one. I enjoy doing streaming, actually, but but I also, I have to I have to eat. So it's that kind of thing. I've really tried to make this something that I can use as a good supplemental income source, and I have to justify the streaming part of it. And you guys do that. So I will do a stream tomorrow. I think what I'll do is a little bit of open forum. I'll actually maybe post a link to StreamYard so you guys can get in. Some of you can get in and talk to me. So, but yeah. So, thank you, Ronald. I appreciate it. I keep my promises. I think I'm probably more of a man of my word since I left the faith than I was when I was in it. I was always trying to find ways to get out of things, and I don't try to do that. But I don't mind streaming another night, but I'll do it tomorrow too. But we'll have kind of a open hangout, and we'll talk about whatever comes up, and we'll see what happens. So, but yeah, thank you for all the donations. I appreciate all of them. I'm going to continue my work. I've got a plan to start producing some videos as well again, because they kind of are the ones that get me my clicks and my subs. So, stream's great for hanging out with the community, and I love that part. So I'll see you all tomorrow too. I don't know if I'm going to continue on with Matt. He's beginning to annoy the shit out of me. Okay. I'm having trouble concentrating on what he is saying because there's like a flow of bullshit coming out of his mouth as I watch him. So I may call this one a night because I'm just not feeling it. I'm just not feeling it anymore. So I'm going to pull him out, and we'll go back to this. But I think I'm going to call it a night, guys. But thank you for all the doing. I will see you tomorrow. We'll have a special stream, and I will call y'all in, and we'll see if some of you, I don't let anybody into my stream, but we'll see who shows up, and we'll have a good time, and it'll be a special bonus stream. So thank you very much, everybody, for tonight. It was fun. I'll try not to do Matt Powell again unless I find what he has to say funny. So, all right. So, all right. I'll see you then, Earl. I know I'll see all of you, some of you tomorrow night. Try not to be too drunk. It is Saturday night, but I'm going to call it a night. Thanks, everybody. All the super chats were great. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. It always helps to get me notice. I appreciate it. I'll definitely consider whatever I need to do for tomorrow, but we'll see you then. And as always, you guys live your best life. You only get one go around, then it's over. So make sure you're taking all your time, money, and opportunities to build up yourself, the people you love and care for, and to make this a better world. Be happier if you do. Don't waste them on the trappings of religion and faith, because that's a dead end. And as always, thanks for stopping by, and I will catch you all tomorrow or next time, or both.